Australian magpies aren't corvids. Introduction. The case of mistaken identity. If you see a bold, black and white bird with a sharp wit and a sharp beak, you might call it a magpie. But depending on where you are in the world, that name describes two completely different families of birds. In North America and Europe, magpies are corvids, cousins to crows and ravens. But the Australian magpie, it's an imposter. Despite the name and the tuxedo look, it isn't a corvid at all. Section 1. Proving the title. Early European settlers in Australia had a habit of naming local wildlife after familiar animals from home. Because of its black and white feathers, they called this bird a magpie. However, scientifically, the Australian magpie, or Gymnorina tibicen, belongs to the family Artemidae. How can we tell? First, look at the nose. True corvids possess nasal bristles, thin wire-like feathers covering the base of their bill. Australian magpies conspicuously lack these bristles. Their nostrils are bare, which is why their genus name, Gymnorina, actually means naked nose. Genetically, DNA studies have confirmed they are phylogenetically distinct from the corvid lineage, having split off millions of years ago. Section 2. Convergent evolution and close relatives. If they aren't related, why do they look so similar? The answer is convergent evolution. This happens when unrelated species evolve similar traits because they occupy similar ecological niches. Both birds are intelligent, ground-foraging omnivores that benefit from bold, high-contrast plumage. Instead of crows, the Australian magpie's closest relatives are butcherbirds and currawongs. In fact, its absolute closest relative is the black butcherbird. These birds are part of the Cractiniaceae family, a group famous for their piping or fluting calls, hence the magpie's specific name tibicen, which is Latin for flute player. Section 3. The U.S. contrast. Hopping versus walking. Beyond genetics, their physical movements set them apart. The magpies you find in the U.S. West, like the black-billed magpie, are typical corvids that tend to hop with parallel legs. The Australian magpie is the only member of its group that walks, rather than hops or waddles. It has a unique bone structure, a short femur, and a long lower leg, specifically suited for pacing across open fields to hunt for invertebrates. While the U.S. magpie might sound raspy or squawky, the Australian version is world-renowned for its extraordinarily complex musical caroling, which can span up to 4 octaves, at least the way humans measure music. Section 4. Behavior around humans. Perhaps the biggest difference is how they interact with us. US and British magpies are generally quite shy around humans. But in Australia, the magpie is a wild neighbor that has adapted perfectly to urban life. And I can say I saw that when I was in Perth and at the park that has the World War I monument overlooking the river there. I got a little video of these magpies. They would come up and look for food. Not the way I remember magpies behaving, like when I saw them in Montana, for example. They are incredibly intelligent. Research shows they can recognize at least 100 different human faces. They've even been observed showing altruistic behavior, such as helping each other remove GPS tracking harnesses installed by scientists. However, this intelligence has a dark side. Swooping season. During the spring breeding season, about 9% of male magpies become highly territorial, launching aerial attacks on pedestrians and cyclists to protect their nests. They have long memories too. One magpie was recorded attacking a specific researcher immediately upon his return after a 15-year absence. Well, conclusion. Well, so the next time you see that tuxedo plumage, remember, it's not a crow in disguise, it's a walking, singing, face-recognizing wonder of the southern hemisphere. Well, if you're in Australia anyway. The Australian magpie is a very remarkable bird.